Hello again, and welcome to our final Losers Bracket Challenge. I think I've done the introductions enough that you know it by now. I mean, no time to stop that like the second to last video. Speaking of things that start way too late, let's talk about the puzzle first. Isomer sorting was originally a puzzle about separating out 10 carbon H's and 10 carbon U's with no way to repeat the process forever. I wanted to see how far players could push that though, so I upped the output counts to 10,000 each. Jabor was kind enough to send in a submission for fun, so he's our example. This is mostly the standard way that Leosha intended this puzzle to be solved. For the normal version, we should have been trying to generate carbon U's and carbon H's back and forth, but that's inefficient since we're going to generate hassium waste. And, we'd rather use this area as storage, so we just output one type. Anyway, Jabor's solution is only going to generate carbon U's. This, has this grab-drop scheme, which I'll talk about later, and it's going to output, let's see, it's not too many actually. There we are, outputs 43. I mean, it's not a ton, but to be honest, he wasn't really putting in as much effort as actual participants. So, in any case, thanks Jabor. Pseudodude provided us with another solution that doesn't come close to our actual competitors. He mentioned that he was going to be showing off like 5 other solutions though, so I'm pretty sure the fact that he was doing 5 makes up for that. Anyway, this is a basic state machine. Flip-flops reuse paths to just kind of output as necessary. The central idea behind this solution is for red to perform the best it can by itself, then to trigger blue to start, and then perform the best by itself, and then from there red just does nothing. So if we let that go on, well, it outputs 57. That's still not very good. I also received a solution from Tough Thought, but it was similar enough to a competitor solution that I didn't want to steal his thunder. And that one would actually be the next one. Cannonball 9 took our hassium waste to extremes. This one completely fills every available space with waste that it can. And it's also going to take a while, so let's speed that up. One thing that you saw in Jabor's solution that I didn't point out is the fact that a single Waldo grab drop chain like this only lets you store atoms in half of the available spaces. The reason is pretty obvious once we get to a hassium. Let's show that off. You have to move it forward twice so that it doesn't crash later on, so otherwise they'd just crash into each other. Pretty straightforward really. There's one other interesting quality of this style of solution though. If you run it at max speed, this will become very apparent in just a moment. Any minute now, or maybe it's just gonna act fine. Huh, there we go, look at that. The frame rate is completely dead because it's having to move all of these individually every single time. And, yeah. Okay, cool, so, yeah, that's a count that I've hidden. I forgot I was gonna hide that. Huh. Well, anyway, does anyone feel like playing checkers? Carblin gave a very interesting write-up of his strategy, so hopefully I can give it justice. These are our first 24 inputs on the bottom. You can rewrite this a little more simply by displaying the count of each set of matching isomers. So we have 3 H's, 3 U's, 1 H, 1 U, basically something like this. It's a sort of data compression. In this solution, the red Waldo is in charge of outputting H's, and the blue Waldo outputs all of the U's. For each Waldo's molecule carrying path, you'll see a sink somewhere down the line. Let's slow that down. So, for blue, actually we're in red still. Okay, red's just going to hit one sink and then just jump back and forth. When we're on blue, blue's going to make just basically a big loop, and the sink was right here. Right. Anyway, so for the first set, in fact I can restart it. For the first set you'll see that red's going to hit 3 sinks and blue's going to hit 3 sinks each of these times, and then it's going to continue along with the path. Also, a carbon sensor is used to switch between the psi output and omega output modes. We didn't see a lot of latches like this in the earlier tournament. They're usually not very useful, but they turn out to be this time. As a consequence of this strategy, this solution gets a lot done with a relatively small number of symbols. Most of this space is filled with arrows, and there's a lot of unused area for flip-flops. The reason you don't see more of those is the major problem with this style of solution. You always have to make a path from the sensor, where it deviates from the carbon transport, here and here, all the way back to the start, where the latch is flipped on or off. Because of that, it limits how many flip-flops you can realistically squeeze in. So, let's speed that up. What do we got? Yeah, this one? Well, there we go. A number you can't see. So our final competitor is SpaceChem. Let's see what he did. 256 is a good number, but it's not the one we care about. So this solution is kind of similar to Carblink's. The difference is that each Waldo runs a path that can output either kind of molecule, depending on whether or not the opposing Waldo hits an output in time. It turns out that this works amazingly well for space saving. Ignoring flip-flops, you should only waste about 1.5 reactor spaces for outputs. The idea being that you'll either hit a single sink or an output in a sink to sort either type of isomer, which we can see right here. That was an output, and this is about to be another output. Okay, here's our sink, and that, that one outputs at the top. So, kind of makes sense. Right. Anyway, adding flip-flops can improve that compression even more, depending on how much reuse you can get. SpaceChem gets a lot of reuse. I mean, I see only 6 spaces where nothing vital is happening. So, yeah, I mean, wow. In fact, let's go ahead and switch over to the blue mode. We'll see here that it has to reuse some space to do this complicated re-pick up here. I think that's necessary since blue takes a while or bottom priority. Well, it's not hugely important. Anyway. Oh, another side effect is this is very fast, which... Oh, well, we're done. Huh. Okay, so who won? Well, third place goes to Cannibal 9 with 82 outputs. Second goes to Carbink with 110, meaning that SpaceChem has made it back out of the loser's bracket with a score of 164. Congrats, SpaceChem. You didn't embarrass yourself like you thought you would. So, assuming that SpaceChem loses next round, we have only one round left. Echo 2 versus SpaceChem and Cannibal 9 versus Carbink. Who will win the grand prize and who will win our special prize? Well, we'll see.